All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome everyone. Good morning. Good morning, Pam. Okay. Well, good morning and welcome everyone to this beautiful Wednesday. Uh, Beautiful Wednesday here where I am. I hope the same for you. And hey, it's Center for Awakening alive, happening right now in these digital streets. And we're so happy that you decided to join in with us today. I'm here with my friend and cohort, uh, Pam Matthews, who is my co-host, and she's here to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Morning.
Yeah. So thank you, Pam, for your support.
Welcome.
Hey, it's it's uh it's a great time. You didn't know it. I believe it's the greatest time to be alive, right? Because uh, it's the only time that there is right now. So hey, it's great to be aware. Uh, Good time to be having a human experience, right? Good time to be shining our light. Good time to know who you are. So as others continue to come in, I welcome you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Lonnie. Fabiola, uh, Kidakin, Robert. Hey, all right. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Okay, well, look, this is the time that we center in for 1 hour, and we've been sharing on this topic of awakening, which coincides with Center for Awakening. Everything here is about awakening at the center. Awakening should be at the center or the forefront of our experience, and but we've been focusing on the topic of awakening to the fact, to the reality that all of us are the perfect creation of love. And we're going to talk about that for an entire year. So that's just how deep and wide this subject is and topic is. And I think it's so critical for our time because I'm persuaded, I'm 100% convinced that if all humanity will awake to the reality of their true nature as love, then all of our seemingly problems will just vanish. Would it go poof? We would have no more problem. We would have no more suffering, right? There would be no more suffering. Uh, and so the goal of our time with you here in 2025 will be to, and any teacher that comes on this platform, I think the goal is always the same, and that is for us to eventually come to know ourself, like the great poet said, to know thyself. I think that is the answer, the simple answer to our happiness, to our peace, to our freedom, to our full expression, to everything, if we only knew who we were. And so we use the Course in Miracles in our sessions as kind of the primary resource to help point us and bring this reality forth. Uh, at the same time, the Course is just a communication device, a tool that we use. It is not something we worship here, um, but it is a pointer to the truth, and I think it's a great resource. I think it's I give it a lot of credit for transforming my own personal life back in 2005, I believe it was, when I first came in contact with the course. So if you're new here for the first time, uh, I don't know whether you have any experience with A Course in Miracles, but hey, uh, we also use the principles out of the Bible too to help, point us to the only true experience, only true reality that is, and that is that we are loved, all of us, everyone, every expression. Some know it and some don't. And I like I like to think about it this way, that ultimately I'd like to see everyone that is a part of this journey that we're on in 2025 in this subject is to become a master, is to become a master at practicing choosing only love. I think that's the goal, to become masters at practicing choosing only love, right? Because the reality is that love is all there is. But there's another experience that we're having called the human experience. And in that human experience, we get to choose, right? We get to choose what we think, we get to choose what feelings we relate to, we get to choose what activities and actions that we take. That's the, that's the freedom we have in having a human experience. And in that choice, um, because we live in this world of perception, meaning that we have to, we use our humanity, our five physical senses, to come to a certain conclusion or to interpret what we are seeing, what we're hearing, what we're tasting, what we're feeling, right? We get to interpret that and come to a conclusion. And so, what we want to become masters of here is, even though we're in this perceptual world, that the only real choice to make in every situation is to choose only love, because love is what and who we are, right? So how do we do that? And that's what the journey is about. So I have a lot to share, but I like to start out the day by, like giving you the opportunity to maybe share what's on your mind, right? It could be in relationship to the subject that we are covering, or I mean, just something that is like maybe pressing you in the moment, but whatever. I just want to open it up and say, hey, if you just want to come on and say, hey, I am Lonnie and I'm this and da 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 da, or I'm Apolopia, or I'm forgive me if I can't pronounce the name correctly, Robert or Sue or whatever. If you want to come on and say hi to the community, do that. This is your time.
Well, I'll start then. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you,
okay.
honey.
Sometimes my headphones kind of blank out. I'm
Yeah.
Lonnie.
Good morning.
Um, I think this is my first time here. Uh, I'm here because I'm actually here because I had taken a course with oh, my mind just went blank. I just took one of the awakening courses
Bill, Lisa.
with Bill and Lisa, yeah.
Okay.
And in the emails, I noticed that this was available. I came to that course originally looking for community. And I'm here because people aren't having this conversation anyplace else right now that I found, at least in my present, experience here. Um, I love this topic because some years ago, as I was going through some really deep healing, I kind of got to this place of realizing that the place I was looking for love was the wrong place, and that was in other human beings. And I kind of started referring to other human beings as the most unreliable variable on the planet because there is no prediction and there is no real expectation that can be made because people are people. And then I kind of needed to explore, well, then what does being loved mean? And somehow that shifted to going from being loved and wanting to love people to just, what if I'm just the energy of love? What if all that I am is just love? And so I'm going to say maybe in the last 8 to 10 years, I've been kind of figuring out that walk as life does what it does. And, when it keeps coming back to what am I, all I can do is answer, well, I'm just love. I'm not trying to love nobody. I don't care if anybody loves me because I so deeply love myself. And people kind of look at me and go, oh, when I do that, but yeah, that's okay too. So I'm here because I've agreed to be led by spirit, and spirit led me here. Love
Wow.
led me here.
Wow, Lonnie, what a beautiful testimony. And thank you so much for
Thank
setting
you.
the stage for today, which is what you have done. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We love that. I love that. Anyone else want to just shine a little bit? Um, all these beautiful lights that are here. Anyone else would like to share? This is how I got to this community. Lisa called me out one day. I was hiding in the background, and Lisa called me out. And 6 years later, now look at me, um, just as comfortable in my true nature of just shining the light of love. Because, like Lonnie said, this is who we are, and in reality, this is what everyone is in pursuit of. They may not know it, but in reality, we come here to rediscover the ultimate reality that is that we share this one self, and this one self is love. The Bible says that God is love. Most traditional religion points to the fact that the ultimate is love. And then the Course, which I love the statement from the Course that is in chapter 1, section 2, paragraph 3, sentence 3. And this is really the foundational passage that we use for this um, year-long topic. It says, "You are a perfect creation, not going to be, not want to be, but that you are, that we all are, that everyone is." It says, "You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection." We should not be at all anything else. Like Lonnie said, it doesn't matter if anyone will love you or whatever happens in the world, whatever rises in our day, we should only be at all that we are not in the presence, but we are that presence of love, that presence of a perfect reality. We are that, and we're nothing else. And the goal of our life journey is to rediscover that, or to remember that. Or like the Course in Miracles says, that awakening or enlightenment is not something that we do, it's not something that we earn, but it is but a recognition when you just realize it for yourself. you know, Back in the day, when I was growing up in the Christian community, in Christian religion, they always say you gotta know God for yourself. And that's what they were really pointing to. And that, even what they were saying, was way beyond what they were really understanding at the moment, because that transcends way beyond knowing something outside of yourself, but is the reality that there is nothing outside of you, that everything is a projection from you, that you are part of the source, you are the thing, we are that. Jesus said over in Matthew 5:48 that be ye perfect. He said be it. He didn't say do it. He said be it, because that's what you are. That is your beingness. He said, be ye perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. So perfection is not something that we do. It's not a label or a title that we acquire, but it is an awareness of our true self. It is awareness of our being. It is the ultimate revelation when you discover who you are. And then you discover that what? In reality, there is nothing but love everywhere, and it's everywhere present. But there's a dilemma, that a seeming dilemma that has gotten in the way of the history of humanity, to have blinded the minds and the eyes to where we have taken a detour or fallen asleep, or whatever term you want to call it, detoured out of that reality into um, a tiny mad idea or belief that we are otherwise. Of course, said that it's a tiny mad idea of separation, that we believe that we actually were successful at separating ourselves from reality, or separating ourselves from our creator, or that we're separate from one another. And so we built the world, and we built this world around that concept of separation. And thus, when you build the world around the idea of separation, you see the mess that we can make as human beings. A huge mess. It's a nightmare in many cases. Some people's lives is a nightmare. My life was a nightmare at one time when I didn't know. There was a time when in my life, my early 20s, didn't know who I was. I was so fearful. I was so shameful. I felt so much guilt, and I didn't understand it. For a long time, that guilt, shame, unworthiness was in my subconscious, and I wasn't aware of it, right? But I became aware of it in my early 20s. So it became to my, it surfaced in my young adult years. And at the time I thought it was a bad thing, but now when I look back on it, it was the thing that caused me to seek for answers, right? It was the thing that caused me that discomfort caused me to look for an answer to the guilt and the unworthiness and all that. That was a nightmare. That was a very dark time for me. But out of that came the discovery, um, that there was something that had saved me, right, from that guilt. But that still was something outside. And it worked for a while, then up until 2005, when I came to the course and I realized that it wasn't anything outside of me that saved me. In fact, there was nothing really outside of me, that I was a part of this infinite self that I shared not only with all creation, but with everyone. And that was the thing that really saved me, that revelation. And so I've been on a journey ever since then to share this, because I know that, like Lonnie said, she was looking for love in all the wrong places. Because, see, love is a creation of itself, and it was only placed in one place, right? And so when we took on this flesh and human experience, the memory of love, or the memory of our true self, came into this human experience with us. It came into the memory with us. It came into this experience with us as a memory. And so, how do you get one to but remember who they are? How do you get one to recognize the truth that is true always? And so, thus, it's our journey, everyone's journey. So, anyone else? I saw Robert come on. I saw Steve jumped in. Steve, Robert, and anyone else want to share before we get into a few things I wanted to share today? If you want to just come on and say hi to the community, there you go. There's Robert. What's up, Robert?
Well, I love what you shared. Um, and this journey of awakening, I've been a student of the Baha'i teachings for 40 years now, and I've known these quotes for 40 years, but they're just finally sinking in. Can I read them?
Sure.
It relates to what you said about perfection. With the hands of power I made thee, and with the fingers of strength I created thee, and within thee have I placed the essence of my light. Be thou content with it, and seek naught else, for my work is perfect, and my command is binding. Question it not, nor have a doubt thereof. And the second one is, I created thee rich, why dost thou bring thyself down to poverty? Noble I made thee, wherewith dost thou abase thyself? Out of the essence of knowledge I gave thee being, why seekest thou enlightenment from anyone beside me? Out of the clay of love I molded thee, how dost thou busy thyself with another? Turn thy sight unto thyself, that thou mayest find me standing within thee, mighty, powerful, and self-subsisting.
Yeah. It starts out with just words, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's when I shake my head. How come I didn't get this sooner? But here I am anyway.
Yeah. Well, our journey here hasn't changed anything. We remain as we were created, that perfect creation. But so that means that none of our experiences really have eternal meaning, or none of our experiences can change or alter who we are. That is the ultimate uh, certainty that we can have in ourself, that we remain as we were created.
Mhm.
And so thank you for sharing that. And yeah, that goes hand in hand with what we are accomplishing here.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is to help us to remind us. This is basically a class in the reminder. Spirituality is no more than a journey of reminding ourselves, right? Um, that nothing has changed, that Humpty Dumpty hasn't fallen off the wall and broken to billions and billions of pieces, that love is all there is, regardless of what is playing out in the projectual world that we see every day. It really comes down to what we said early, this becoming a master of our reality, so that we always and only choose love in every moment. That's what we're learning. That's what the daily practice, that's what all of the everything is about. Getting to the point where we choose love and only love in every situation, every condition, every circumstance, because love is always present. And how do we get there? Right? How do we renew the mind? How do we discipline ourselves to choose only love? Because we know that's it. So why am I flopping back and forth? Why am I loving in one moment and then I want to, I get annoyed and I want to hate in the next? Why am I judging and I know I shouldn't judge because judgment has already been completed and we have all been judged as one. So my ego judging is only creating the suffering that I'm experiencing. So why do I do that? So that's why these communities are so valuable, and to be a part of one like this, like Lonnie said, everybody's not talking at this level, and so to be a part of this is because you attract this to yourself. You attracted this to you, right? And so, how about it, Steve? Steve's got his hand raised. What would you like to share, Steve? Good morning. Uh, I think you muted, Steve. We're still not hearing you.
He shows to be unmuted, but something's not functioning correctly.
Something on his side. Well, tell you what, we'll come back to you maybe at the end, Steve. Um, yeah, yeah, because we want to hear what you have to say, Steve. But anyway, so today I want to talk about uh another side of this, right? So like last session we talked about that there was only two emotions. The course talks about there's only really two emotions. And we said that emotions are like energy. And it's like the word says, it is energy in motion, right? And that energy in motion is either the reality of love or it's the unreality of fear. So there's only two emotions, love or fear. And we're always coming from, or we're always expressing one of the other in every moment, always. And it's not something that is forced upon us, it's something that we choose, right? And that's why I said becoming a master is learning to practice or to choose only love in every situation, every circumstance, and every condition. Because love is who we are and love is always present. And so we talked about that last week. And that, if you haven't heard that um, lesson, it'd be good to go back and hear it because I think that that is foundational to us understanding this, the reality that we are this perfect creation of love. However, we have the freedom to choose. And until we learn to choose for only for love, that is conditioned for not only having the experience of that love or having the experience of peace or having the experience of being awakened and not just having the experience, but staying awake, abiding in love, like Jesus said in the scripture all the time, to abide in me and I'll abide in you. That he's talking about love, abiding in the reality of who we are. And so we talked about that last week. So this week we're going to flip it a little bit because this week we want to talk about the resistance to that, and that is the fact that what gets in the way. What is the thing that gets in the way to our having a consistent experience of the love that we share, or the love that we are? And the course talks about at the heart of A Course in Miracles lies this profound teaching on this subject of innocence. Innocence. Y'all heard that word before, right? Innocence. And you can't talk about innocence without introducing what the course called the falsity to that, or the other ideal to that, which is guilt. So today we're going to be talking about what the course says about guilt and innocence, because it's critical to our maturity, right? It's critical to our staying awake. It's critical to our peace. Understanding that the concept of innocence, right? Because just think, I think it's like ironic that we come here, all of us are born here at the beginning of our experience, and that's probably the most consistent season of our life that we have the experience of what we would say innocence is, right? This innocence is because we come here not having yet been programmed or conditioned by our parents, our environment, right? Our culture, haven't been conditioned in this idea of separation. But this is what we do as human beings. We bring new beings into the world, and then we condition them to see themselves or to perceive themselves and others totally opposite or different than what they really are. And we somehow we can say we lose our innocence, right? Then Jesus come back. When he came in his ministry, he said, hey, look, unless you become like little children, unless you become like the innocent child, right, then you won't experience, yourself. You won't experience the kingdom. You won't experience the love that we share. So it's about a return to the It's a call to return to our state of innocence, right? That's what love is. Love is innocent. Last week we talked about we used the passage of scripture over in 1 John chapter 4:16, I think, where it says uh, God is love, and then it went on to say that um, there is no fear in love, for fear has torment. There is no fear in love, right? And so, what is innocence? You know, the Course says that we are innocent because we were created by love, and love cannot create guilt. Love can only create like itself. I've never seen I've never seen squirrels produce anything but squirrels. I've never seen horses produce anything but horses. I've never seen um, an apple seed produce anything but apples. I've never seen humans produce anything but humans. Right? So, likewise, love can only produce like itself. Love can only extend like itself, right? And so we were created by this love, or this reality of love. And in that is the idea of innocence. And so my definition of innocence, this is my definition of innocence. And I came up with this after years of, on my spiritual journey. But my idea of innocence is when I came to a point where I had this inner sense, not outer sense, right? You'll never get to your innocence with an outer sense, right? Looking outward, but looking within. So when I got this inner sense of my oneness and my aliveness and my connection with everyone and everything, that I was not separate from anything, but I was one with everything. And so that is the place that I think that we're all pursuing, where we have this inner sense. So when we talk about this inner sense, we're talking about our nature. When we embrace the nature of love, which we are, we get this inner sense of oneness, of connectivity, of the fact that the reality of this one life is one life that we all share. There's one self that we all share. There's one being that we all are. That separation is an illusion. That the only reality is that oneness, right? And so when we talk about the Course talks about innocence versus guilt, and there's a lot of lessons, there's a lot of ideas in the Course that addresses that, because you cannot get to the place of experiencing your true self as love without facing the illusion of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear that has seemed to interpose or placed itself in between us and love, right? Which is we call the human experience. And so guilt versus innocence. So if innocence is oneness, if innocence is love, if innocence is our perfection, and it is, then guilt is the misperception that we have changed ourself into something other than the perfect love that we are. That's where guilt comes from. All right. And so on your spiritual journey, all of us deal with it. All of us you have to deal with it. Of course, say you have to look at it. The ego say, don't look, right? Keep it hidden. Don't look. But there's no peace at the end of not looking. Peace comes at the end of looking, and when we look from a place of our true nature, when we look from the place of love, then what we see is that there is no sin, there is no guilt, and there is no fear. Like for years, I wouldn't look. And not looking kept me stuck, because my religious training told me that we're all sinners, that we're all unworthy, right? That if it wasn't for by the grace, then we really are nothing. I mean, that concept got embedded into my thinking, right? Anybody else experience that in your growing up? You know, learning these things that eventually you have to unlearn somebody else's idea, someone else's belief system. It wasn't your belief system. But we all are born into a family, right? So we all are born into some family. And by the way, you chose that family, whether we know it or not. We don't know it consciously, but subconsciously, we chose that family. We chose our passage. So, innocent is having this inner knowing, this inner sense that I'm one with everyone and everything. That there's only one thing. There's only one thing. And we must be that thing. We are not other, we're not something else, but we are that thing. We are that perfect creation, which is no more than the extension of the one source, the one life that is. And so that's our ultimate goal, our ultimate revelation, because therein lies our peace, therein lies our fulfillment, therein lies your freedom and full expression of that love, right? And then that love becomes unique as an expression in your life, because no one can express it and be it like you can. We're just that unique in our human expression, but we are the same in our nature, which is love. All right, Steve, you think you got us now? You ready now? I see your hands back up.
I think I might have it. Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you, Steve.
Okay, good. It was because I had the headphones on and I had to go into the settings and change the microphone back to the computer. Otherwise it was using this microphone, which I don't. Anyhow, I got it fixed. Just real quick on the innocence thing. Kind of occurred to me the other day that everybody's innocent. Trump is innocent. Hitler is innocent. Everybody's innocent, and I think that's what the message of Jesus was. His last words were, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." The reason people act the way they do is because they don't know any better. And when you start to see everybody as innocent, that's when freedom comes, because that's when you're able to love unconditionally, because recognizing that everybody's innocent, you take away the judgment. So that's all I was going to say. Oh, and what I was going to say at the beginning when I had my microphone off was I love what Lonnie said earlier about I am love. I kind of just tuned in when Lonnie was talking, and I just love that. That was awesome. So
Yeah. That's a very important point, Steve, because love must be total. If there's one exception, it's not love. If there's one, I mean, Jesus put it this way. He left the 99 to go get the one. Because love must be total. Love is all encompassing. There is nothing outside of it. And this love is not complete if it's one exception. And that sounds so unattainable to the ego mind. Because the ego mind is kept alive by its judgments, kept alive by promoting separation and division and promoting differences and seeing from a place of separation, right? That's why the Course said that's the only one thing that needs to be healed is our belief in separation. Not that separation does appear to occur in a world of perception. Everything in this world seems independent of everything else. Everything seems like an island of its own, right? This is part of the illusion that we're brought here in a world that is steeped in separation, and we're asked to wake up to the oneness that is our reality. And so the only way that can really happen is to turn within, because all the sights and the sounds from without is telling us there is no oneness. There's multiplicity, right? There's levels. There's superiority. There's inferiority. All of these things that seem to put shade over or to obscure the reality of oneness. And so it's like trying to find a needle in the haystack. It appears that way, right? But the good news is everything in our life is being used. Every relationship, every experience, every disappointment, every triumph, every victory, every loss, every misunderstanding, everything in your life from day one has been orchestrated to bring you to your place of awakening. All of it. All of it has been used to bring you to a place of discovering who you are. All of it. So when we look out in the perceptual world and we see the hatred, the vitriol, we see the division, we see all of the uncertainty, when we look right here in 2025 and we see the vibration of fear that is on display, when you are awake, when you know who you are, and when you're choosing only love, you can look right through all of that. You can look right through all of it. Like the scripture says, where it says, the pure in heart shall see God. Or we'll reinterpret it to say, the pure in heart shall see love. Everywhere. We're able to look through the facade of guilt and sin consciousness and fear and see only the love and the beauty that is real, that is eternal, right? And so that's the beauty of the awakening experience. But it takes work to get to that, in the sense that it doesn't take work, because in reality, none of this has happened. In reality, all of this is but a projection, is but a dream of, or an idea of a tiny mad idea that has been like put on steroids. And then we're being asked to wake up in the midst of that, right? And then be the light of the world, right? Now to shine away all of that, right? And what better time, what better need than the world of perception have right now is to have more light and beauty in the world. So we don't wake up just for the sake of waking up, but we wake up for the purpose of being a part of helping others to awaken. If you didn't know that purpose, right? That's part of our purpose. Like you said, be the light of the world. You already said you are the light of the world. I was when I was there. Now you are. Now I'm still there, but I'm there in the person of you. So you are the light of the world. So let your light shine so that men can see your beauty, your love. Right? So it says, guilt according to the Course is not real. It is a fabrication of the ego, born from the false belief that we have separated from love. This belief in separation leads to a sense of sin consciousness, followed by guilt, which then demands punishment. The ego uses guilt to maintain its control and to keep us in fear, reinforcing the illusion of separation. But the Course comes right back and say, but guilt is always insane. It has no reason. It is the belief that what is true is false and what is false is true. So it's a complete upside down orientation, as the Course described. It's an upside down orientation. And when something is upside down, it's insane, right? So what is innocent? No more than our true identity. Innocent is not something that we earn, but it is our eternal state. And it is untouched by the illusion that we're something else. And then I was studying this morning, and the thought came to my mind is like, guilt is no more than like manipulation. Guilt is no more than a form of manipulation. So when we are experiencing guilt, that tells me that I am in a state of manipulating or trying to change something into something that it's not, or trying to perceive something to be something when it's not that, right? So think about manipulation. And when we are manipulating, we're trying to control, we're trying to get to an outcome that we want. And when you think about it in terms of our subject of guilt versus innocence, it's like we spend a tremendous amount of our time trying to be something that we are not. We're manipulating our nature, but the good news is love cannot be manipulated. Who we are cannot be manipulated. We cannot be changed. We cannot change ourselves because we didn't make ourselves. We didn't create ourselves. So the Course teaches that innocence is guaranteed by God because we were created in the image and we remain as we were created. So, how do we return to our place of innocence in our daily experience when we have this sense of that we've done something wrong, that we've broken something, that we are deserving of less because of something that we did in our past, or something that generally it boils down to our belief system. So how do we remind ourselves? How do we get back to the place of innocence when we're experiencing a sense of guilt or a sense of sin consciousness or a sense of fear? How do we get back there? Well, the Course says there's only one way back. And it's the greatest tool that all of us have. It is the one concept, it's the one idea that is the central theme of A Course in Miracles. And it's been the central theme of your life. It's been the central theme of your life. And that is the tool or the idea of forgiveness. That is the way that we get back there. Through forgiveness. And just think about it. This week is leading up to Easter Sunday, right? And in the Christian faith, that is the theme. That is the antidote. That is the one and only thing that we can do for ourselves in this world of perception, is to forgive. And not to forgive like we have traditionally been taught, but according to the Course, forgiveness is just an act of letting go. Because in reality, nothing has really happened. You know, it defines, in the Course, it defines forgiveness as the thing that I thought occurred, the thing I thought that I did, or the thing that I thought was done unto me. In reality, it has not occurred. So we're not talking about guilt in terms of oh, I done something and I'm going to be let off the hook, or someone done something, we're going to let them off the hook. That is the ego's idea of guilt, of forgiveness. But the idea of forgiveness that love and that love expresses is the idea that in reality nothing has happened. It all was a projection. It all was coming from a place of separation. I created the scenario. I was trying to manipulate. I was trying to get people to act in a certain way, to do certain thing. I was a part of the manipulation, right? But in reality, nothing really occurred. And so the forgiveness that the Course talks about is letting go of the illusion, letting go of the idea of this false self that I have made up, letting go of this idea of separation, just letting it go. Just letting it go. And if that is the one gift that we've been given here in our human experience, because in reality, there is nothing to forgive. In heaven, there is nothing to forgive. It is the gift we have here. And Jesus demonstrated it during his death, burial, and resurrection. All that was about him communicating the same thing that I'm talking about today. He was communicating our innocence. He was demonstrating what love really looks like. It was not a requirement, but it was a choice that he made to choose only love, to be only light, and in so doing, like the ego said, I got to get rid of this, right? But he didn't get rid of it, right? And so in this week of that if you're here and you celebrate Easter, or if you celebrate I celebrate Easter every day, in the sense that I celebrate the reality of our oneness, the reality of our perfect creation. That is what Easter really is about. But it was demonstrated in his life through the practice of forgiveness. In fact, the last word he spoke was what? Father, I forgive them. Why? For they know not what they do. And so, like Steve said, they don't know. Right? So how can we expect the sleep to act any different than to act out of fear, to act out from a place of separation? We can't expect it. So forgiveness is the bridge. It's the way that we get back. It's the way that we get back centered. It's the way that we get back to our innocence, our inner sense of being connected to everyone and everything. It's the way that we get back to embracing and expressing the reality that we are these perfect creations, and we cannot change that, right? And so our job is to be the expression of that and to become masters of that by choosing only love in every situation. That's the work that we do here. And I'm going to stop right there. And I see hands raised. So we're going to try to get to your questions. We got about 6 minutes left. So we're going to try to get to everyone's question or statement. So, yes. So bring them on, Pam. Okay, there's Lonnie again.
Thank you for this meeting. I will be back. But the other thing I wanted to say is about that forgiveness, especially in the climate we're in right now. I've really used it as a tool. I've used the climate as a tool, because whether, in that recognition of all is of God, that too is of God. And it really gives me an incentive when I run into someone who I don't necessarily agree with, or who portrays that heavy fear energy. I get this place, this warmth inside of me of just recognizing how afraid they must be.
Yeah.
And that alone makes me have to give even more love out to them, even just for the acknowledgement of how separate from the energy of love they are in order to stand in that fear. So, as we are presented with all of this fear coming at us, I think it's almost forcing those of us who are ready to move into the love, because that's the only alternative.
Yeah, that response is called compassion.
Yes.
You remember in scripture it said that he was moved with compassion, right? Because he know he knew the absolute state of suffering that people were in
Mhm.
by the false, and he also knew it was because of a false belief. It was because of an illusion. It was because of an idea that they have embraced that is not true. And the only thing that could free them from that is truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth that you know shall set you free. So what in his life he only offered the truth, and so that is our pattern. So when we stand there in the presence of our own self, because we're looking at our own self, our brother, that is appearing afraid and fearful, right, and guilty and in judgment, right? We know that that's not their reality. And so compassion. So we move. So then that becomes our motivation. We move with compassion.
And it's not truth with all these other stories attached. It's
That-
the basic truth of no separation.
Absolutely. Basic truth. They see themselves as separate from love. They see themselves
Yes.
as unworthy of love. And we stand there as a witness of who they really are. That's why Jesus
Yes.
said there's only one law that you need to practice, and that's the law to love your father, to love your creator, and to love your neighbor as yourself, because he knew that. Because when you awake, you understand that your neighbor is yourself.
Mhm.
It's yourself when you were asleep. That's what you're looking at. And so you can have
Thank you.
passion. You can have true compassion in that moment. And that compassion might look like just listen or just hug. It doesn't mean you try to proselytize people in the moment, but just be the presence of love, right? And whatever moves you, whatever compassion looks like in that moment, you'll know in that moment, right, what to do, how to be. Yeah. Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you. Thank you. Steve.
Wow, Lonnie, that was absolutely brilliant. You have awakened. That was brilliant. I just want to add on the innocence discussion, especially on the innocence, the whole idea of forgiveness as letting go. Just want to add that when you see it that way, forgiveness becomes, it's not transactional anymore. It's not, I judge you and now I'm going to forgive you for doing that to me.
Right.
That's all ego. That entire storyline is ego.
Right.
Rather, you go inside, you drop all the stories, drop all the narrative, drop all the words, and you just feel how that feels. And that's the feeling, that burning in the gut, the tension in the gut, the pressure in the gut. That's all the burning of separation. And so when you go into that feeling and just drop all the stories and just recognize the other person is innocent and that person has nothing to do with that burning inside your gut, that's the burning of separation. Then you can be with that feeling and bring what I call is just allow you to rest in the crucible of unconditional love, and it transforms that energy. And that's really what forgiveness is going inside and letting go of that energy by transforming it into love. So I just want to add that piece of it, that forgiveness is not dualistic, it's not transactional, has nothing to do with the other person. It's all inside and has nothing to do with the stories. It's all energy.
Yeah. Because as we stand before another person, we realize that there's only one person. That's only one person.
Yeah.
So would you put the thorns the wreath of thorns on your own head, right? Would you crucify yourself? Because that's the idea when we hold judgments or we hold grievances against our brother, because we're doing it to ourselves, right? Because there's only one self. Remember, perfect creation is the idea that there's only one self, and we all share that one self, that one being. And we look past the illusion of bodies and we see only love.
Yeah, it's like when you see another person, you're not thinking in terms of empathizing. You're not thinking that person is as me, or I'm as you know, living through that person. It's that person is me. It kind of changes the narrative a little bit when you see everybody as yourself. Yeah.
So, hey, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, everyone that's here. Robert, Sister Davenport, everyone that's here. Thank you for being here for this hour. Look forward to you being back in 2 weeks. And between now and then, just practice choosing only love, because that is who you are. And until then, happy Easter. Bye-bye.